Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Austin. This is Gone in 60, and this is my 2022 Subaru WRX. And today I want to share with you all the things that I enjoy and love about this car. If you guys are here, please give me a like, comment, and if you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Thank you guys for watching, and let's jump right into it. So with the new Subaru WRX, there's a lot to like and there's a lot to hate. But today we are talking about the things I like, the things that I love about the 2022 Subaru WRX, and these are in no particular order. So there's nothing I'm making more of a favorite here or less of a favorite. They're all awesome. These are all things I like. These are unique to me. If I left something off of here that you guys like about the car that maybe I didn't put in this video, please leave a comment below. But for me, the first thing that I want to jump into is the hood scoop. How many cars today on the road have this aggressive look to it with the hood scoop? Not very many. You know, for me, I'm a sucker for the Shaker and the Dodge Challenger. I love that. I love just kind of that raised look. I've always loved about the WRX, just kind of this raised, pronounced grille right there. I just think it looks so good on the hood. I think it looks amazing. And in this model, they've definitely increased it. The older models used to come up a lot higher, and there's some kits that you can use. And for those of you who are not familiar to the WRX community, obviously turbocharged car, and the intercooler is just right inside of there. So it's actually functional. It actually serves a purpose. But that's one of the things that I've always just loved about WRXs is the hood scoop. I love how they look coming down the road. I think they look aggressive. I think they look mean, and might not be something that everybody likes, but I've always been a huge fan of the WRXs, and it's something looks-wise that's always made me gravitated towards the car. One of the next things that I love about this generation WRX, and even some of the prior ones, obviously this is a turbocharged car. I love the sounds that you get, even stock. I don't have any like aftermarket blow-off valve. I don't have any extra accessories. I don't have any modifications to it. The only thing that I've done to this car is remove the charcoal air filter, and I have a K&N air filter in there. But what I noticed when I removed the charcoal air filter and installed the K&N, I got a lot more turbo sounds through the cabin. And that to me is just something that makes driving a turbocharged car so much fun. A lot of people will add blow-off valves to the car. Some say it makes the car run rough. It doesn't run right, it runs rich. But I love just even in stock form that I can just get the sounds of the turbo. There's kind of a sweet spot within the turbo where, you know, you can hear it whistle a little bit, where you can just hear kind of that induction noise. And I am a sucker for that. And that is something that I absolutely just love about the car. And I remember when I was actually able to test drive one, that was something that stood out to me in the test drive, because the looks kept me from really ever driving the car. And until I drove it, until I felt that power band that was very linear, that I was able to hear some of that induction noise and a little bit of turbo sound, I was sold. Now, obviously, if you guys tune your car, and we've talked about this in another video, if you guys tune your car, you can add a lot more turbo sounds to it just through a cold air intake. So just know if you guys buy this car, you're going to get some awesome turbo sounds, and especially if you modify it, it'll even be more amazing from there. The next thing that I want to talk about is the all-wheel drive and the handling of this car. I've obviously had some amazing handling cars on the channel. I've had my Bullitt Mustang, I've had my Camaro 2SS 1LE, I had my Mazda RX-8 that was probably the most fun to rip through a canyon. Didn't have the power, but man, that 50-50 weight distribution was amazing. Now, I haven't been able to take a really big canyon run in this car, but I've taken some very aggressive 70, 80 mile an hour turns, and the all-wheel drive and just handling the Subaru WRX is really hard to beat. This car just hugs the corner so well, the all-wheel drive, and it's something that puts this car in a class of its own. Yes, there's other cars that have all-wheel drive, but when you're looking at the overall just kind of value of the car, the all-wheel drive, the handling for what you get, sure, there's a lot of front-wheel drive cars, the Hyundai Elantra N, the GTI, the Honda Civic Si, but when you look at just performance cars with all-wheel drive, there's very few. And when you look at this price range, it gets even fewer. So I'm excited to be able to drive this car hard for you guys and to be able to show you how well this car corners and handles. really from all the cars I've owned this far on the channel, besides the 3000 GT VR4, this is the only all-wheel drive car I've had, and I totally understand why people love these for their handling, because they truly are absolutely amazing and they just hug the road so well. One of the other things that really drew me to this car over other cars, and I really want to create kind of almost a documentary on this type of a video, it really is one of the last mechanical stands. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of cars today, Supra, Integra, Honda Civic Si, where there's a lot of different electronics. Now, don't get me wrong, this car's got plenty of tech in it, but what I mean by that is it doesn't have the auto stop start button. That is something that absolutely annoys me with cars. I hate it about cars. And this car, there's no modes. Like, I can't put it in sport mode, I can't put it in track mode. There's no modes that I put this car in. It literally is just, you get in it and you rip on it. Now, when you get up into the GT trim level, for sure, there's other driving modes, you can do things with the suspension. But when it comes to this car, it is just raw. It is mechanical, and that's something that people have always loved about the STI and always loved about these cars, is just how raw feeling it is, from the shifter to how the car feels to how it communicates. There's not a huge digital dash in there that tells you your speed. It's still your traditional just gauges that you have, and it's a recipe that is dying. It is a mechanical car that you hear the sounds, you shift, sure it's a little bit louder, sure maybe it's a little bit clunky around some things, but the mechanical feel of a WRX, especially for people that are really into manual transmissions, it's really hard to beat. This car communicates so well to you, it responds so well, and just the sound of the shifter. I know a lot of people complain that the shifter is, people have had some great analogies for it, but people, you know, say it's kind of sloppy, it's clunky. I just love the assertiveness. Every time I put it into gear, it's just click, 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 click. It's just mechanical, and it's rewarding, and it's satisfying. You know, like when you guys open up, you know, a wrapper or a box or something, and, you know, you kind of hear that crunching and that sound, like it's a good sound. And for people that, as I've come along in my YouTube journey and driving a lot of different cars, don't get me wrong, a lot of the electronics are awesome, but this car is just raw. And I think it's one of the last mechanical stands out there, because what are cars doing? You look at the new Mustang, you look at a lot of different cars, things are just becoming just these massive tablets. Now, they did add a massive tablet in here, but from just the gauge cluster to everything, there's still a lot of pureness in this car and formula that they followed for a lot of years. Sure, some people might say it's cheap. It's very intentional and it's very purposeful, and that is just something that I absolutely love about this car, is just the mechanical feeling of it. Now, something I usually don't talk about with cars, I usually talk about it in a negative format, and I've had the B&O sound system in my Bullitt Mustang. That was pretty much the only upgraded stereo that I'd had in a car. And my Challenger had the Alpine. I installed a subwoofer. The Bose in my Camaro was really good. But I will say that if you guys are getting into the limited trims or adding this as an option into the premium trim, the Harman Kardon stereo in here rocks, and it sounds really good. My B&O sound system in my Mustang wasn't overly crazy about, but this Harman Kardon in here rocks really well. I was able to resolve the door rattle in my passenger side door. I put some tape back here. You can kind of see how that is really loose, and I'll do that. It doesn't do it on this door, but I put some extra double-sided tape back there. But if you guys are kind of on the fence about paying more for the upgraded stereo and you're someone who likes it, now if you have the base model, it's totally fine. You can add some aftermarket speakers and you'll get some great sound out of it. But Harman Kardon, I've heard Harman Kardon in other cars, Challengers, Chargers, sometimes they're overly bass heavy, but this Harman Kardon sound system in here, it really, really sounds amazing. And if you guys have been following my channel for some time, you know that's something that I typically don't comment about. Another thing that I've really enjoyed about this WRX compared to, I could throw in almost all the other previous generations. I understand why people tuned the previous generation WRXs and STIs. This has the best stock tune, in my opinion, that Subaru has ever ran on a WRX or STI. And I know I've talked about it at length, but the power band in this car, sure, it is shorter. You hit red line at 6,000 RPM. However, The power band in this car is just so much more linear. Before in other WRXs or STIs, it was like you don't have power, then you have a ton of power. You have a little bit of power, then you have a ton of power. This is just linear and pulls all the way to redline, and that is something that I have enjoyed about this new WRX. Other things that I've really loved and appreciated, especially about Subaru, especially about the WRX, is the community. There's a great community and a great following for the WRX. For my channel, for other people's channels, Subaru has a formula that's worked very, very well, and I can only imagine the hate mail they got when they got rid of the STI, because people who are into WRXs, people who are into Subarus, they are passionate about the brand, and that is something that I've really enjoyed learning from people and the community just around it. There's a ton of modifications and a ton of support. Like, there's so many different aftermarket parts you guys can put on your cars, and they are readily available, from tunes to different things. I think for the 2023 models, they're still waiting on a couple things from Cobb and some others, but the people around it, the brands that support it in terms of modifications, are just incredible. They're unlike anything that I've come across. Don't get me wrong, I've come from some amazing brands of cars, but the WRX community, you guys like to modify your cars, you like to tune them, and you're very helpful to newcomers to the brand, and I've absolutely loved that about that. And the last thing that I'll add on here, and I usually never talk about car dealerships like in a positive way, and I did have some kind of ruffles with this dealership a little bit at times, but every Subaru dealership that I have dealt with, I'm not saying they're all perfect, but they have been hands down some of the best dealerships that I've worked with. They want to get you in a car like everybody else, sure, but the friendliness, the non-pushiness, just the take care of you type approach, the sales type approach, I've really enjoyed that about Subaru. But over the years, what I've really loved and enjoyed about Subaru is they've stuck to a formula. They've stuck to a brand. Even you guys gripe about the horsepower change. Look back to some of my earlier videos that I talk about the VA chassis to the VB. There's times when Subaru increased the displacement of the motor and sometimes didn't even change the horsepower at all. But Subaru has always stuck true to their brand. They've stuck true to what they typically do with these cars. It might be infuriating and frustrating to some where they want you to push, 350 horsepower to really bump it up, because I think people understand the potential that Subaru has and what they can do. But at the same time, I've loved that Subaru has kept an audience true to the platform, the formula that they've followed. Sure, this generation is met with a lot of hate, with a lot of love, but it's selling really well. And some people embrace it, some people don't, and that's okay. But there's a model of WRX out there for everybody that you can love, that you have stories around that you can be attached to. There's so many other things that I love about this car, guys, but those are just a few things that I've absolutely enjoyed about the car. And I hope you guys have some other things that you've loved about it too. If you guys have anything that I left off of here, please leave it in the comments below. Would love to hear it. I'm sure I've missed something. Let's collaborate on it. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.
Let me see you drop. I fucked up this hustle, yeah, we hustle. I fucked up this hustle, yeah, we hustle.